Good morning, everyone. Welcome. My name is Elisa Udaskin, and I am a director at JVS Jewish Vocational Service, and we are located in both East Orange and Montclair, New Jersey. So, as I always do, I'm going to start by telling you a little bit about JVS. So, JVS was established in 1939, and over the years, we have continued with our mission to help people upskill, face barriers to employment, and get back on their feet and find employment. We help and we serve people, everybody, and we do wonderful, wonderful things. Job Seekers, which this is part of this webinar, JBS Job Seekers, is really generously sponsored by Project M of the Network of Jewish Human Service Agencies and Jewish Federation of Greater Metro West. And we thank them so much for their support so we can provide these free webinars to you. So this morning we're in for a real treat. Anybody hear about AI? I don't know if anybody's heard about AI, worried about AI, wondering what AI is. How do I use AI? Anyhow, we have all the answers for you here, although at least the start of the answers. So our guest speaker, Jodi Murnick. So Jodi is a certified coach with 25 years of experience in recruiting, sales, brand management, and consulting. Her background spans startups, Fortune 500 companies, and boutique agencies, and she brings the added perspective of a mom of three. Jodi works with college students, young professionals, and professionals at all levels to strengthen their storytelling, networking, and job search strategy. Known for her warm, candid approach, she blends marketing expertise, coaching tools, and real-world insight to help individuals navigate an unpredictable job market and step confidently into what comes next. I am delighted to welcome Jodi here to JBS Job Seekers for our webinar on embracing AI. So over to you, Jodi.
I am so excited to be here. I'm going to share my screen. Let's make sure this works. Here we go. Okay, all good. You can see everything good?
All good.
Okay. I'm so glad to be here. I was looking in the chat and I've noticed there's a lot of, it looks like medium level of experience. So I'm hoping that you're going to pick up some new tools you didn't know before today, maybe get some different insight into how to do things. But I want to start by saying, Elisa introduced me so well. I am a career coach. I have a background in sales and brand management and consulting and college recruiting. And I guess you could say I like to try new things. Right now, I'm spending my days talking to professionals at transition points. And I've recently noticed this. The market hasn't just changed, but the tools have changed. And when tools change, strategy has to evolve. And so about a year ago, I started experimenting with AI. I want to start by telling you all I am not a tech expert. If you were looking for a tech expert, you came to the wrong place. But the cool thing about AI is you don't have to be a tech expert to use it well. In fact, I had a technical client the other day that I was coaching for a job interview say to me, this is the only technology that you don't need to first understand how it works to use it. He said, every technology I've ever used, you have to really get into the meat of it and understand the background of how it works before you can really use it well. And this is not like that. This, you just have to understand yourself and what you want to do. So I wanted to understand how this technology could help smart, experienced professionals think more clearly, position themselves more effectively, and compete in a market that's moving really fast. And to be clear, the person I was most interested in helping first was myself. Um, so today is all about my evolution and yours. So the session is not technical training. It's not about learning to code. It's not about becoming someone you're not. It's about gaining exposure to some interesting tools and maybe learning how you can use them well. A lot of job seekers I talk to are either ignoring AI, which it looks like most of you are not, or feeling a little overwhelmed because they feel like maybe they've already been left behind and they're not exactly sure where to start. If that resonates with any of you, hopefully you'll be feeling differently when we're done. And if you're not feeling that way, hopefully you'll be feeling even more empowered when we're done. So, embracing AI. I did not embrace AI because I'm an early adapter. I wasn't fascinated by it. I would have actually had to pay enough attention to it to be fascinated by it. And I was not trying to become more technical. I didn't start to notice it until I needed to be more effective in my own work. I launched a new business about 6 months ago. And all of a sudden I realized I needed some leverage. I was a solopreneur, just me, my business, and my ideas. And I don't know how many of you are in that role, but sometimes it feels a little lonely. And I needed help thinking, help organizing my ideas. There wasn't someone down the hall, like when I worked in brand management, that I could say, hey, I have this idea. Do you think it's crazy? I wanted to refine my communication. I wanted help preparing for coaching sessions with clients. I needed to understand industries I'd never worked in and to understand all these different roles, some of them I'd never even heard of. So I didn't want hype, I wanted support. And the cool thing about AI, as I've mentioned, is I didn't need to really understand how it worked to use it. I just needed to understand what I wanted it to do. I didn't learn to code, I just talked to it. Honestly, I kind of talked to it like the most patient, energetic, emotionally stable assistant I've ever had, who's also really smart and knows everything about everything and just wants to please me constantly. It's amazing. When I first started using AI with my business, it was purely practical. I had a lot of ideas for LinkedIn and not enough time to organize and write them clearly. What surprised me wasn't just the speed, it was how it pushed me to get to the heart of what I was saying. It was almost like I had somebody sitting there saying, but what do you really mean by that? What do you think the issue really is with your reader? Who do you really want to read this? It helped me to stop polishing phrases and start really clarifying what I was thinking because I wasn't spending all my energy wrestling the first draft onto the page. I could focus on what really mattered, who I was speaking to, and what insight I wanted to leave them with. It made me more creative, not less. And it made me more strategic and not more automated. Now, when I have business decisions to make, especially if I'm at all unsure, I have a conversation with chat. I start by sharing the problem, and then I instruct it to ask me questions one at a time to help me figure it out. And the best part of all this is that the thoughts and ideas are mine. They're just organized in a way that makes it so much easier for me and anybody who's reading it to understand. And I love when people tell me, I love reading your LinkedIn because it's not generic AI. It's clear you're really writing your stuff. Well, I'm going to let you guys in on a secret. It's definitely me and AI all the time. So I've heard a lot of people saying, this new generation of people coming into the workforce, it's like it's such a bummer because AI is going to replace them. And, I say probably at least once a day, AI is not going to replace you. Someone who uses it better is going to. So AI fluency is becoming baseline. And for so many of you who said you feel like your level of understanding is medium, that's about right. The real thing is that you're not avoiding it. And I did not see anybody in the chat today say they're avoiding it. And just by the mere function of you being here means you're not totally avoiding it. You're getting interested. But the real trick is how do you use it well? And what so many of you have is experience. And that experience paired with AI is the real differentiator. That's a big word. Differentiator. You guys have decades of experience. You recognize patterns, your judgment's solid, you understand the context. Your experience is golden. AI has speed, and that combination is powerful. You don't need to avoid AI. But with a little practice and a growth mindset, you can leverage all that experience and quickly learn to use AI well. There are three different ways I'm going to talk about using AI today. First, as a thought partner. And this is really the use case that starts everything. Not write this for me, not fix this, but think with me. I must write 4 times a day. Help me clarify my thinking on this. So AI gives speed to your direction. I kind of think about it like I'm driving a car. AI can generate the structure and the options quickly, but it has no lived experience. It doesn't understand nuance. It doesn't understand the feelings. It has no career history and zero instinct. But you do. You have all of those things. So let's think about it. You can throw some answers in the chat. What do you bring that AI never will? EQ, that's a great one. Intuition, love it. Critical thinking, logic, ethics, intelligence, body language, that's a great one. Creativity, human judgment, care. I think AI makes me way more creative. All of your experience, spontaneity, all those things. AI is just a way to amplify all of those great things you have. So, as I say here, AI brings structure, it can synthesize, but you decide. AI gives you options and it suggests things, but you get to select them. AI helps you organize, but you prioritize. You bring all of these things that you guys talked about: intuition, context, awareness, experience, creativity, emotional insight, empathy, all of those things. So, with the experience, the danger isn't laziness, it's defaulting to old patterns. And that's one of the great things that AI helps you get around. If you just say, rewrite my resume, you're going to get something generic. But if you take your resume and the job description and put both of those into AI, and then you say, review my resume in relation to this job opportunity and let me know where you think the holes are. And then ask me questions one at a time so we can clarify what differentiates me. That becomes strategic work. Some of the answers you might not like, some of them might be wrong, but that's where your experience and your knowledge comes in. And the great thing is, AI doesn't have feelings. If you say, this is totally wrong, that's not the direction I want to go, doesn't get its feelings hurt, doesn't stop working, it doesn't sulk away. The other thing you can say is, that's not how I would see it. Help me explain why, help me understand why you're seeing it that way. Sometimes it uncovers something I've totally missed where I think it's wrong. Sometimes I'm right. But I see it often where people will say to me, I do this. I run my resume through AI with the job description. And I say, well, great. Well, how do you pressure test it afterwards? And then they look at me kind of blank. And that's the nuance here. It's all about the pressure testing. I see it a lot. I started talking to a client the other day and I said specifically, so you're interviewing for roles in this new area. How are you positioning yourself? So I'm a marketer. I think of everything as positioning. And usually I kind of get a blank stare when I say things like this. And then I explain I spent a lot of my background in sales and marketing. It really taught me to think this way. Everything is about positioning. When you're looking for a job, you're selling yourself to a potential employer. So you need to position yourself in a way that makes it easy for them to see why you're the right person for the job. And sometimes it's hard to look at ourselves objectively and come up with the right positioning. Sometimes it's even hard to come up with skills and strengths we're really comfortable talking about because it needs to be grounded in our experience. And people get all up in their heads on these things, especially when you're looking for a job. People get a little frustrated and overwhelmed, and it gets hard to think. I call this below the line thinking, when fear gets in the way and we have a hard time of thinking really clearly. And that's where AI can be a great tool because it's not dealing with any of those emotions. I might say something very basic, like, here's my role, here's what I'm interested in. Help me think through my strengths. And I don't use AI because it has the answers. I use it because it has the questions. So I use it when I'm pressure testing ideas too. Recently, I'm considering an opportunity for my business.
You don't need very much.
I'm sorry, I think somebody's off mute.
I muted her. Keep going.
Thanks. Thanks so much. Um, I'm looking at an opportunity for my business. It would require both an investment of time and money. And I'm trying to decide if I should do it. I've asked a few people whose opinions I respect, but then I sat down with chat and I said, I would help me pressure test this idea. I told it all the reasons I thought it was a good idea. Then I asked it to look up the company and let me know what was out there on the company, on the founder. And then I told it to ask me questions to help me think about anything I was missing that might make the opportunity more or
We
less
enjoyed
appealing.
it. But we
Chat didn't worry about my feelings. It didn't want to please me. It didn't want to make sure that I felt good about my decision.
want to see if you have
It also didn't care
dinner.
about my budget and how much money I was spending. It simply asked me questions based on the information I provided and gave me feedback based on my answers. To me, that's really valuable. When I'm structuring responses or refining my messaging, I save so much time just telling it what I want it to say and the tone I want it to use. And then I let it write the message for me. This is really useful when I want to say something that's nuanced and I'm getting stuck on the right words. I can just let Claude write it. And then it's so much easier to edit it versus trying to think about how I want to lay it out in the first place. And I can really spend my attention on the nuance. And if I'm really unsure, I say, give me a few options on how I should position this. Again, like a very efficient, talented assistant with no feelings and unlimited energy. What if I told you you could hire that? So I've shared a lot about how I work with Claude. I Every prompt I use says ask me questions. The reason for this is it ensures my answers sound authentic and in my voice. And as I've told you before, everything I write is really from both of us. So when you use questions to guide the collaboration, it's really like I have an AI coach myself for every collaboration, and nothing I do sounds generic. So here's an example of how I use it. This is my short example. I told Claude, today I met with this gentleman who's the vice president of learning and technology at an analytics company. We talked a little bit about what he's seeing in new hires and that he brings into his organization, which in general was they want to move fast and have an impact. I position the work I do as helping them do this better. Dave was appreciative of me concept testing with him and open to being a thought partner moving forward. Help me craft a thank you follow-up email to Dave in my voice. And here we go. Ask me questions one at a time to clarify and avoid assumptions. So I'm curious, when you read this, what's different about how you might prompt AI? Anybody have any thoughts on that? You can throw them in the chat. Great. So some people are using a similar thought process. Some people say you're the expert. Somebody said, how does it know my voice? So I've trained it. That's how it knows my voice. I use it probably 3, 4, 5 times a day. And in writing, I keep different projects. So the more you use any AI technology, it learns. Um, and I give it feedback. So sometimes when it says that when it gives me an answer, I will say, that's not in my voice. I wouldn't say it like that. I would say it more like this. Sometimes I ask it, give it to me in a few different tones, right? So I can choose. So AI didn't create the value, it helped me articulate it. And here's how it did that. Now, I went through and tweaked a lot of the stuff, but the gist of it was exactly what I needed this to say. And I could focus on developing the program that I wanted to for this client. So, as I've said, AI helps me articulate the value, not create it. And here's a few tools I like to use in this space. So, ChatGPT is really my go-to for all-round thoughts, partnering, brainstorming, structuring ideas. I use it the most. I like the projects piece of ChatGPT, and I keep things in projects because then it keeps all of my ideas together and Chat knows to reference that information when I'm using it. I don't, and I honestly go back and forth between Claude and Chat. Sometimes I take something Claude's written and I copy it into Chat, and I'll even tell it, this is what Claude said. What do you think? And it will give me its opinion. Sometimes I'll say, reference this project. Based on that, now what do you think? Same ideas. Notebook LM is new to me. I think it's really cool. It can do a lot of analyzing documents, resume work. Um, it's tied to Gemini and Google platforms. So it's pretty interesting there what it can integrate. And Notebook LM is evolving honestly on a daily basis. I don't think we've even gotten close to what it will be able to do. So for me, Notebook LM is an emerging technology that I'm just starting to figure out and learn. And before we jump into a practical exercise, Elisa, would this be a good time to answer a few questions?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to get off mute. Okay. Okay, I'm just reading the questions to see what we're going to be covering. Okay. So Linda asked, are you going to teach how to use AI for processing data and not just writing text?
Absolutely. We can talk a little
Okay.
bit. We can talk a little bit about that. So one way that I use Claude. I like Claude for processing data. Claude does is really understands Excel better than some of the other platforms I've used. One way I use um, Claude for processing data is with LinkedIn. So I do a lot of marketing and really my voice is on LinkedIn. I do a ton of writing and posting on LinkedIn. And one thing as a marketer, I was trained to understand is you want to look at the data and understand what's working for you and what's not. So LinkedIn has a very cool feature where you can pull the analytics. And when you pull the analytics, it pulls into a massive Excel spreadsheet. So I love data analytics. I don't love analyzing massive Excel spreadsheets. But what I can do is dump that spreadsheet into Claude. And I can ask Claude to analyze the spreadsheet for me and then give me the themes. And sometimes it's right and sometimes it's not. And when it's not right, that's when you use your intuition. If it tells me something that I think feels odd or feels like really an outlier, that's where I'll say, show me the data. Go back in the data and show me where you got this. So that's really how I use it to process data. You can also use it in Excel. Claude has some add-ons that you can use in Excel where you can ask it to rerun the numbers for you, to build different spreadsheets, things like that. I hope that got to the heart of the question.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you. Okay, the next question is how do I best efficiently learn prompt and how to prompt?
So the way there is no best way to prompt. The best way is the way that works for you. And honestly, it's by doing it. The more you do it, the more you learn. I talk to AI like a person and I explain things exactly like I would, like I said, to an assistant that's very smart and has no feelings. That's how I talk. This is what I'm looking for. This is what I need. And when I don't know how to prompt Claude or ChatGPT or anything else I'm using, I will ask it. How should I prompt you to do this? Here's what I'd like you to do. The first time I ran that LinkedIn analysis with Claude, I didn't know how to do it. I said, I've got this huge chunk of data in an Excel spreadsheet that I want analyzed because I want to understand the themes of what's working for me and what's not. How should I do that? And Claude said, well, the first thing you should do is upload the Excel spreadsheet, then do this. And it talked me right through it. And if you're not getting what you need, you can say, I'm not getting what I need. What am I missing? And it's incredibly user friendly that way. There are no real technically required prompts.
So basically it's practice and it's just practice and practice and just and play. Practice and play to use it. And okay, thank you. I have just two more questions. Okay. I knew this one was going to be coming. Jodi, it came sooner than later. Jamie asked, does one need to pay for a good AI program or are free services sufficient? And I love that you have this slide up when this question came.
Yes. So it depends on what you want to do with it. If you want to upload documents and be able to have it analyze things like resumes and job descriptions and things like that, I believe you have to chat. You only have a certain amount of memory on chat and it goes very quickly. So you probably need to pay for it to do that. There are new apps coming out daily. I have heard some great things about Gemini, and if you use Google Workspace, you get the paid version of Gemini for free included. It's part of your if you pay for Google Workspace, it's part of the package. So you don't need to pay for chat. I just learned this, Elisa. You don't need to pay for chat if you have Gemini Workspace. And that is Google Workspace because you can use Gemini. And it allows you to integrate Google Slides and Sheets and Docs and all of those things. Notebook LM is also now connected into that. So there are a lot of workarounds if you don't want to pay for ChatGPT and Claude.
Yeah, say to add to that, Jody, it's just like you described that Chat GPT or AI, any of these, they're not emotional. They don't get offended. Okay. On the flip side, I know from my personality that if I'm using Claude, I'm going to get used to Claude. And because it's not easy for me to adapt to technology, I only want to use Claude. But I need to flex my adaptability and agility to be like, if Claude changes something, which they probably will to more of a paid model because they are all trying to make money, I'm going to try something else that's new and try that because I'm not loyal. Claude isn't loyal to me. I'm not loyal to them. It's not going to take offense. I'm not going to lose any of my learnings because they all basically are similar in terms of approach. So what I would encourage everyone, so you don't have to pay money if you're not in the position that you want to pay, is to take a few minutes to research. It will not take very long to do that, to find the next one that you can try and the next one that you can try that doesn't cost any money. And even though you're going to be comfortable, like me, I'm a level below Jodi in terms of being comfortable with using technology and stuff. I like Claude now. Claude's my friend. I'm going to have to make a new friend, and that's okay. Right? So I encourage everybody always with job seekers who come, find everything you can that's for free as much as you can. So we
So
just
the
have
other
one.
cool thing is it will tell you.
Yeah.
Not only does it not get its feelings hurt, you can ask it. What are the best free I've done it. What are the
Yes.
best free AI apps? Right? It will start to give you information. There is the challenge, and I'm with you, Elisa. The challenge is for me is switching costs. Right? So I have put so much into building all these projects in
Yes.
ChatGPT that I would have to transfer it to to Gemini and Notebook LM. And I'm getting real close. But I need you need a few minutes. It requires a little bit of time and a few minutes. So right this minute, they've got me locked into my annual contract and they've got me. But I'm always trying to figure out new things and new ways to do it. And I think there's so many interesting free things out there.
So there's just one more question before we continue. So Jonathan, I can't remember if it's Levy or Levy. I'm going to read your question, but you may have to elaborate if Jody, if we need elaboration. How to get networking and back channeling tips and strategies to help job seekers move forward in their area of expertise. Okay, let's use networking. Like, how could you, is there any way? So I know Jonathan is a career coach and works in Montreal, fellow Canuck. Um, we haven't really talked about this, but like, how could you use AI to help with networking? Have you explored that at all, Jody?
Well, so there's actually an example I'm going to talk about
Okay.
later on where you can use some of the resources for networking. But
Okay.
so there's a few pieces. I use it. Let's can we hold this question because I'm going to talk about some platforms that might be helpful with
Absolutely.
that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So if we jump into our practical exercise, Elisa, are you ready? I'm gonna throw the prompt um
So what
in
are
the
we
chat if
doing?
I
What are
can.
we doing here? And what does everybody need to
We
do?
are
And then you tell me what to
everybody's
do.
gonna okay, so everybody is gonna open whatever your favorite AI app is. I think Elisa, you're gonna use Claude today. So in a
Correct.
moment, I'm going to stop sharing, but I want to make sure that everybody has a second because and it's not allowing me to copy paste while I'm screen sharing. So if somebody can Ben or somebody, if you could put the prompt in the chat, and you can use it for, you do not have to say you're a marketing manager. Why don't you use whatever your role is? But what I said is, I'm a marketing manager. I'm looking for new opportunities. I want to better understand how to position myself. Help me think through my personal strengths and skills I've developed in this role. Ask me questions one at a time to help me gain clarity. So, Elisa, I'm going to stop sharing now. And I'm going to allow
And
you to share.
okay. Okay, here I am on the spot. Tell me what I'm writing because I wasn't able to
It's
copy
fine.
that.
You're going to write, I'm a marketing manager. I'm looking, I'm looking for new opportunities. I want to better understand how to position myself. Help me think through my personal skills, my personal strengths, and the skills I've developed in this role.
Hey, one second. Help me think
My
through my
personal
personal.
strengths and the skills I've developed in this role.
Okay.
Ask me questions one at a time to help me gain clarity.
Yeah. Is that
Okay,
it?
now hit enter. That's it, hit enter.
Thank you very much. Okay, so it says, I'd love to help you think through your, oopsie, something's popping up. I'm going to
No,
skip
that's
that.
okay. That's fine. That
Okay.
was how it was trying to help you.
Oh, it was trying to help me. See, and I didn't let it help me. You see,
It's
okay,
okay.
you keep telling me what to do, Jody. Okay, I'd love to help you
That's
think through your
okay.
positioning. Let's start with foundation. What type of marketing have you been most focused on in your current role? Huh. Okay, so I have to be live here and realize what's going on. So I'm gonna put myself in pretending, thinking back to when I worked at Kraft Foods. Okay.
Okay.
I'm sorry, don't we need to add our resume as well so that it knows what we've done?
Well, so that's not what we're right now. We wanted to just like think broadly, right? Like how I'm trying to get it to jog my memory without a resume.
Got it.
Okay, so everybody can see what I wrote. I am doing consumer packaged goods marketing, leading brand marketing for Oreo. And now it's telling me that's a fantastic brand to have on your resume. Thank you. Or, oh my God, it makes me feel so good. Oreo is one of the most iconic consumer brands in the world. That alone signals something meaningful about your experience level. Let's dig into what you've actually built there. Is it going to ask me some? Oh, this is the prompt, Jody.
Here's the
Okay, what do I
prompt.
do here?
You click on the answer.
Okay. Wow. Oh
So
my
it's going
gosh,
to ask about,
go ahead.
oh my gosh, okay. Which describes your highest contribution? So it's really making this easy for you.
Can I
So the
select
reason
more than
I
one?
don't, yeah, I think so.
I did it all. Okay.
Okay, great. There you go. The reason I don't like to upload a resume first is because sometimes when we're in a when we upload the resume, we're sort of stuck in whatever we wrote down there and we're anchored to it. And I like to do this work first and then upload the resume and say, how does this resume represent what we've talked about?
Oh shoot. I want more than one of these. What happens, Jody, if I want to
I
pick
think
more
you
than
can pick
one?
more than one. I think you can pick more than one here as well.
Okay, let's see what happens. Oh, just let me pick one. Okay.
Oh, well,
Maybe we'll prompt, maybe I can ask it if I can do more later. Okay, go on.
you can.
Oh, it is. Okay, what kind of opportunity are you most drawn to next? Oh, because I told them in the beginning that I wanted to have another opportunity. I want to move into
Yeah,
a different industry. I want to go into nonprofit. I wish I
there you
had
go.
this years ago, guys. Okay. Which industries are you, something else? So I'm going to say nonprofit.
Yep.
Okay. When it's saying it's honestly really interesting pivot, is that said kind of like when you say that baby is really cute and like, or I shouldn't
Well,
be
so I was
reading
just
into
noticing
this?
somebody in the chat said, I find ChatGPT to be too nice. It doesn't challenge my thinking.
Uh-huh.
And somebody else said you can tell it not to be so nice. And there's confirmation bias and all of these things. There are. The question is, the trick is truly, how do you pressure test these things? If you just take
Okay.
what it says and go with it, then you're going to be liable to all the confirmation bias. But you don't have to be.
Oh, okay. So here we're getting to the strengths. So basically what we're getting here is that, oh, wow, I'm not just looking for a job change. I'm looking for meaning that's fundamentally different kind of motivation. Okay, here's what I'm seeing based on everything you shared. And now it's giving me something practical of how I could position different sections of my resume, how I can position the top part about how I'm looking to career pivot and highlight those skills, and also on my LinkedIn, how I can do that. It's giving me pieces here that I can pull from to practically apply to when I'm sharing my story of moving from a consumer packaged goods brand manager into nonprofit because I'm telling you, Jody, this is what I do with clients day in and day out. And we together try to figure out the story and positioning. And now I could just ask my best friend, Claude. Okay. Tell me what to do now, Jody.
Okay. Okay. So I think now we're probably at a good stopping point for now.
Okay.
Is there anything in here you disagree with?
Okay. You're a senior brand storyteller, proven business. One second. Okay. What makes you distinctive? You run full campaigns from strategy to execution. Yep. Market share. You've built and mentored. Yes. A strong way to frame yourself. Okay, this is the key because this is the nugget of job seekers who are looking to transition. The nugget is how you position yourself. So a strong way to position yourself. I've spent 5+ years building one of the most beloved brands. Now I want to apply that same storytelling power to cause that matters. One thing I've explored. Do you have a specific cause? Okay. Um, you know, I don't know. I don't know if that is really a strong selling point when I'm going to interview with a nonprofit. What are other selling points I can
So this
hear?
might also be a time where I would upload a job description.
Okay.
And I might say, this is the job description. How would that change your
Ah,
thoughts on my positioning?
right. And I think what we're doing here and demonstrating is that it gave me an answer. I'm like, you know what? Not sure because you know what? It's a computer, it's not a person, it's not exactly in my head, even though you think it's in your head. But what I can do is give it more information about what I think will be stronger. And look at this, it gave me what I wanted, actually. It's giving me, because I was looking for something, and rather than just like fairy dust up there, I want to help people. It's giving me, I know how to build audience loyalty. I've managed budgets at scale. I've led cross-functional teams. I understand culture and relevance, and I've grown a team. This is wonderful. Thank you. One second. Thank you, Claude. Claude, you have been most helpful.
And
Let's see what the,
you are very polite to Claude.
aren't people usually polite?
You never know.
I think I think it's the Canadian in me. Oh my gosh,
Must
Claude
be.
is saying good luck with my search. You've got a lot to offer. And I feel great. Thank you. Okay, over to you, Jody. Would you like me to
Okay.
stop sharing?
Sure thing.
Yeah? Okay. This was
Yeah.
fun.
Right. This was fun. All right. I can jump back in.
Okay.
All right. Here, I'm going to share. Where's mine? Here we go. Okay. I'm going to jump back in. So now we're going to talk a little bit about using using AI as a research assistant. So one of the ways, from a job seeker's perspective, is researching for job roles. I saw some of the chat um, already talking about some of this. So one of the challenges in looking for a job is that a lot of experienced professionals default to just applying for what's out there, and it's reactive. But what if you positioned yourself instead for roles that are coming and how we think about those? So when I say like use AI to see beyond the job postings, what do I really mean? And this is where your experience and all your understanding comes to play with AI's speed and synthesis and direction. If you understand a company's growth direction, you walk into a conversation differently. So, for example, new product launches, that signals expansion. Expansion signals hiring. You can ask questions like so here's what I would do. I would go into, if I was exploring new opportunities, I might go into chat, because it's my go-to, and ask questions about what industries are showing the most growth right now and which ones are expected to grow fastest over the next 5 years. I'm going to get some answers. Then I'm going to ask it to back it up. I always ask it to give me sources. ChatGPT will give you sources. Claude won't always because Claude can't reach out the same way that Chat does. But
Jody,
ChatGPT can, yes,
can you please pause on that because there's a question that's relevant to what you just said. So
absolutely.
if you're doing research, okay, and you're asking today, March 5th, what are the growing jobs? What was your question again? What are the jobs that are
Which
growing or
industries are showing the most growth, right?
okay, today I'm putting it in, which industries are showing the most growth? And
Hmm.
in New Jersey, in those industries, which are the top companies hiring? This is my
So I would,
question.
okay.
Okay, no, so this is the question that I have for you. I've heard that if you don't have a paid, this is a question that many people have to debunk perhaps a myth. If you don't have if you're not using the paid version, we'll use ChatGPT for example. Is it still with that question on March 5th, 2026, going to be pulling information that's current, or is it 2 years old information if you're not paying for the version? If you're not paying for it.
My my understanding is it's not the most up to date,
Okay.
right? Like to the minute. But I would imagine it's directionally accurate enough. And if you wanted to pressure test it, I might try Gemini now. Now that I know that Gemini
Okay.
is so good, I might try Gemini. If I really needed up to the date, up to date information, and I might look between the two of them and see what the differences are. And if there was a difference, I might ask one of them why the other one was giving me different information so I could get to the heart of it. Because
Hmm.
it's not smart enough, it's not gonna hide information from me. It's gonna tell me exactly what the answer is.
Yeah, no, I think that's great because you're showing us different ways to leverage and to use AI. And if we're using it for research, and then, Jonathan had a question that has popped through, which is leading to the networking, which is about current. If you took it a step further and said, okay, which companies in New Jersey are hiring, and can you get me the hiring managers' names or the senior engineers' names? Does it mine like LinkedIn? Like, is this machine have like LinkedIn information behind it to like give you names and then you go to LinkedIn?
So not always. But
Oh, okay.
sometimes if it's public, if it's been published, it can mine published sources. So, like if a new VP of operations was recently hired,
Yeah.
there was probably a press release. It can find that press release and give you the person's name. That's actually an example I have further in here,
Okay.
where it's exactly how I would do it. And then I might find that person on LinkedIn. I would use LinkedIn then to see if we have any mutual connections. And then I
Hmm.
might say, Elisa, it looks like you used to work with Rashid. Would you mind would you feel comfortable reaching out to him and connecting us? He's the new VP of operations, and I'd love to have a quick conversation with him.
One more piece of this question. Okay. So does LinkedIn, when I'm doing a search and I'm using it for networking, how does it get my LinkedIn information? How does that work? Is it connected to LinkedIn? Like, I really don't know.
LinkedIn is public information,
Published.
right?
Okay.
It's public. It's out there. So there are ways to get everything on LinkedIn is not there, but things are going to come up. I mean, if you ever Google, just Google, right?
Yeah.
Basically, anything that's available on Google is available through any of the AI apps. That's really an easy way to think about it. If you can Google the information and get it, but what the difference is in how Chat or Gemini or some of the other sources uses it, Google just would give you, 2 years ago, I would Google an earnings report, but then I had to read the whole thing to get all the information. And sometimes that can be like a real time suck and kind of a snoozer. So you could download that earnings report. What I would do is download the earnings report, stick it in ChatGPT, and say, I have an interview with this company next week. Give me the top 10 most relevant points of this earnings report and suggest 5 good questions I could ask that would show I read this and understand the material.
Okay, what you just shared with us is remarkable because one of the things we also, as job coaches, tell people as part of the prep for interviews is go through and search to see if there are any press releases. In the old days, 3 weeks ago, we would just go on their website and look at the press release section. I mean, we've all built websites creating that press release section, but now you could either Google it, but even faster, what you're saying when you're doing research for an interview, you can research the person who's in the people who are interviewing you. You can research the company and the latest news. Wow. Okay. I'll let you keep going. I'm not going to ask any more questions, but for
No
now.
problem. You're great. You jump in anytime. So I was just going to say you can drill down to the industry. You can ask about specific companies. And then sometimes I push harder, right? Asking specifically why it thinks. So I would ask about specific companies in New Jersey. And then I might ask, who do you think is best positioned to win in this space? And it's going to give me an answer. And then I'm going to ask it why. What assumptions are you basing it on? And if I really wanted to go a step further, I would say, what would have to go wrong for this to change, for you to change this positioning? Now, AI is your very smart analyst with unlimited patience and a 24-hour schedule. If you think the answers aren't accurate, ask it to show you the source. And this is also, Elisa, where it gets to that question of, is it using dated material? Well, ask it to show you the source. If the source is 2 years old, then you have your answer. If it can't show you the source, then I'd ask it to answer the question again and only provide information that it can source.
So what you just mentioned about source is something really, really important that I've heard about lately, which is when you're writing a presentation, like if you're giving in a paper, let's say a white paper, anything like that, or if you're doing an editorial piece, okay, or a thought piece or something like that, and you're putting it on LinkedIn, if you are not using all original thought from yourself, it's really, really important to put in sources that are credible sources. And I'm hearing more and more how important that is to reinforce your credibility. So I think that that's a really, really good point. And I know we're going to be talking about developing like using it for making posts for LinkedIn, things like that. So I guess maybe if you don't talk about it now, Jodi, maybe later about original thought and what is original thought and what should you sort of source so that you're not, you know what I mean? Because using when you're posting, you want to build your own authority.
So I think it depends, is really the answer. It depends on what the use case is. I don't publish research papers, right? That's not a space I live in. I think if I did, the answer would be different. When it comes to LinkedIn, most of my content, my original source, comes from conversations I'm having and my experiences. So to me, that's original thought. I use AI to better articulate it and speed up the time it takes to get that original thought into a format that I can put on LinkedIn. And sometimes I'll use it on Facebook or Instagram. And I'll say to AI, my audience on LinkedIn for a specific post, I post a lot about college students and early job seekers. So my content on LinkedIn is often geared towards the professionals who care about those early job seekers. So a lot of my content is geared towards them. However, because those people are professionals, they see the content differently. If I'm using a similar idea for Facebook, I might change it because Facebook is more personal and social. And so I might even say to Claude or whatever source I'm using to write it, um, how could we refine this idea or repurpose it for Facebook? And if I'm not loving what I'm getting, I might say, tell me what's going into the suggestions you're making. So it's sort of like if you remember the old days of being a brand manager. I was a brand manager too. And one of the things you had to do was you would walk into a meeting and you would have to defend your forecast. And the number was whatever the number was. But what you were really defending were your assumptions. And I use that same kind of strategy here. I don't really care about what the answer chat is giving me is. I care what its assumptions are. And that's what I'm pushing on. What are the assumptions? How did you get to them? And then do I agree with them? That I can have an opinion on. Okay. Are we good on that one?
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna keep going then. Um, so you're researching a company and you ask AI, what has the company announced in the last 12 months that might signal a change or growth? And it's going to summarize. It's going to tell you about two new product launches, a regional expansion, and a new VP of operations that was hired 6 months ago. So, as we were just talking about, the first thing I'm going to do if I'm interviewing for a job there is I'm going to look up that VP, right? I'm going to find her on LinkedIn. I'm going to figure out where did she work before? Who might we know in common? Because now I'm going to start to get a sense from my own understanding of who she is, where is she from, what industry she's been in. Was she in industry? Was she somebody who came from a subject matter expert who came from one industry to another? Or is she somebody who's been in this industry for decades? Because that's going to help me also understand who she might be open to hiring, what her thought process might look like. So this is where you start to use your experience. You know, new product launches require infrastructure. They require spending, right? If I'm somebody who sells any sort of marketing or creative communications, they're my target. I know that expansion requires operational support, and new leaders are usually building a team. So you're reading between the lines. There are probably roles that are going to be emerging that haven't been posted yet. And again, now I'm in LinkedIn. I'm going to see who I'm connected to, who might be able to make a warm introduction. And if there's not anybody, I might just send a connection request with a thoughtful note. Now, me and AI are a powerful combination. Any questions on that?
Okay, there, everybody's trained that I don't let them just ask questions. Um, any questions about, if anybody has a question, Jodi has offered up that you can ask the question. Okay, hold your questions and we can ask at the end.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to move on. So, what kinds of tools am I using? So, I feel like this might be a spot where these are some tools you might not have heard of yet. So, especially for this audience, I wasn't necessarily going to go into it if there was not enough AI experience here, but I think you guys have enough. Gig HQ is a very cool new tool that I've learned about. I actually had an introduction to the founder, and the technology is amazing. So, what Gig HQ does is two really important and unique things with AI. For anybody who's ever worked in a sales role and is familiar with using a CRM, a customer relationship manager, that's what Gig HQ is for your job search. So it's sort of like your own personal Salesforce. The second thing it does is it surfaces hiring signals, growth, expansion, momentum. It will show you who's hiring, how many people have been interviewed for certain roles. So how like you they are. It will show you how much your resume is a match for the job that is listed there. It's all integrated. And then it has a Chrome extension that you can use with your LinkedIn. So it can see who you're reaching out to, how often you've contacted people. And that really changes so many things for you because most job seekers operate reactively. They apply, they wait, they lose track, they follow up when they think about it. But experienced professionals know that's not how business development works. And a job search really is business development. So let's say I'm interested in healthcare operations. I use Gig HQ. I put all of my information into Gig HQ. And then I use it to see what companies are hiring consistently, what departments are expanding, what leaders are building teams, and where hiring velocity is increasing, and who they're interviewing for these kinds of roles. Are people with my experience getting interviews here? This is where your experience and AI start to become really powerful. If I see a company's added 5 new operations roles in conjunction with hiring this new VP, I know there's something there. There's growth, there's integration, they're trying to move. And that's a signal for me. And I know that means I need to get in front of that person as soon as possible.
So Jody, there's a couple questions about what, just in general, are all of these free? Is everything
So
free except with limitations if you want to use more?
most things are free to some extent. In general, most AI platforms are free to a certain extent. I have done a few where I had to do a free trial, right? And the trick with a free trial, as we all know, is you have to remember to cancel it if you don't want to pay for it. Gig HQ is free right now. So all of these things, it's a great place to go and just see. It allows you to like track who you've reached out to, log conversations, monitor hiring patterns over time, set reminders to follow up. All of these things. Instead of saying like, I think I applied in March, you can actually go and look. It's a system, it's a pipeline. It's very much like if you've ever worked with Salesforce, it feels very similar.
Jody, one more question about the different platforms. And so these,
Yeah.
in addition to also the other ones you shared, Claude, ChatGPT, and the other one, do you know in your experience whether it's better user experience to download when they say download an app to your desktop, download an app to your phone, or whether to continue to use it in a browser mode? Do you know if there's any difference there? Because I'm always hesitant, especially I work at a nonprofit. I can't necessarily, I have to go through permissions to download an app to my desktop. So I've just been doing it in browser mode
So I prefer working with ChatGPT and Claude in the app.
in the app.
I have so many browser windows open. I don't want more browser windows. I use it so frequently and so often. I like it to have its own thing. I like the way the app is laid out. I think it's very user friendly. I enjoy it that way. Gig HQ is different. Gig HQ is a Chrome extension, so I don't necessarily need the app to use it. Um, Perplexity, GenSpark, LinkedIn AI, I don't use them enough right now to need the app. If I use them more, well, like LinkedIn, I have the app on my phone. On my phone, I like to use the LinkedIn app. But on my computer, I just use LinkedIn AI through LinkedIn on the browser. Does that make sense?
Okay. It really does. Thank you. I was wondering if you can talk about this now or perhaps after, just about privacy, security, safety using
Okay,
these.
I am not a security expert. I want to throw that out
Yeah.
there. Um, I don't put anything into, and I'm not particularly concerned about my own privacy. I'm not putting anything into ChatGPT that is not searchable information on the internet as far as my resume and any of my clients I work with, their resumes are all in public places. They've all applied online to different things. So their resumes are definitely searchable. And quite frankly, we want them to be searchable, right? What's the
Right.
worst thing that could happen is that somebody looking for a resume would find it. But I don't have a strong answer for what happens if I put any of my content into ChatGPT because I'm not concerned about it. I don't think that the risk for me is well worth it.
One thing I can think of that may be something people should be cognizant of is that if you are currently employed, you're underemployed, you're dissatisfied, you're looking to change careers, transition, any of these reasons, but you're currently employed, just remember when you're you don't if you're using your work computer, just like if you're using your work computer for any you're not going to use it to search for a job. Don't fall into you're using these AI tools for work and then you're getting kind of like a little bored, whatever, and then you start putting in things about search. That's the only thing I would say is that if you don't want your current employer to know that you're exploring other options, don't use your work computer. So maybe that it's as simple as that because you get very comfortable with these AI friends, partners, support admin assistants, right? And you might forget. So just always kind of remember that your work, if you're currently employed, you want to keep your job search separate.
Well, and a lot of companies actually don't allow some of these chat or Claude.
Oh,
They prefer that you use Copilot at work because the company does have full lockdown on
hmm.
Copilot. So you might not even be, but that's a great point, Elisa.
Yeah.
Any product that you produce at work is the product of your company, most likely. And you need to be careful with that.
And the other point I just wanted to emphasize is again, I mean, you just, um, you get to be very friendly and share things. And so you always have to just remember that everything you put out there when you're typing could be out there and could be accessible. So just remember that. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. I do think in these kind of searches, the risk is relatively low. I don't think that the vast population is looking for what my strengths are or how I'm positioning myself
Yeah.
for a role.
Okay. Let me further because I was being too not being direct about that. Okay. So if you are asking using ChatGPT for things about like things that are political or things like that, again, it's tempting because you forget that you're on one platform and you're at work and you're somewhere else. That's kind of where I was going. Um,
Okay.
just about your viewpoints and things like that. You if you want to say your viewpoints on that, say them, but just be cognizant that whatever you put out there, it's not necessarily private. That was just really my point.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah,
So
sorry. That was my
probably
point. Yeah.
if you're using it to come up with something you're gonna post on social media, you're probably good.
Yeah. Okay, keep going.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna jump into another exercise.
Oh,
Um, so here's the prompt. So I'm gonna stop sharing. So this prompt says suggest other roles where I could use these skills. Ask me questions one at a time to determine what other factors I should be taking into consideration.
okay. Okay. Hold on. Sorry. Okay, can you please tell me the rest? Suggest other roles where I can use these skills.
Ask me questions one at a time to determine what other factors I should be taking into consideration. So here's what I might say here. To tweak this because your answer we went a little bit deeper last time. Instead of suggest other roles, I might say in front of suggest other roles, maybe here you should add, oops.
Yep. Would you like me to start over, Jody, instead and skip
No, you're
this?
good. You're great.
Okay.
That's totally okay. Let's keep going with
Okay.
that, right? Okay, so what's important to you here? Now it's going to start to dig into what factors are important. Do you want fully remote? Do you want to be in the office? Do you need to be in a specific city? Ooh, now you're talking about compensation. How much money do you want to make?
It has a sense of humor.
It does. And in all seriousness, how do you feel about your next step in your career trajectory?
I forgot I put in Oreo.
Okay, so here's what I'm getting. Let's skip this for 1 second and stop doing the question answer for just 1 second. I want to skip this. Claude can get you into this question answer mode, and I think it's fine if you're really just trying to like narrow things down, but it does not really getting us where we want to go here. So what I might say is I'm second guessing this nonprofit thing. What other areas should I be considering? Ask me questions one at a time to help me figure it out.
Should we be reading this out? I'm sorry, I'm just not
So you
speaking.
could, I figured everybody's working on, I figured everybody's
Okay.
working on their
Okay.
own,
Okay. Okay.
but
Okay.
maybe I wasn't super clear about that. So let's keep going.
Okay, 1 second. What kind of thing do you want most to be marketing?
So if you weren't sure, right, and you didn't know how to answer that question, one thing you could have said here, skip out of this again. One
Okay.
thing you could have said was, I don't like sometimes it's I don't know is a good answer, right? I don't know. Help me think through the pros and cons of each of these different areas. So here I'm going to show you one more trick, Elisa. If you go up to where you
Okay.
answered services and platforms,
Yeah.
there should be a button where you
Yeah.
can edit it. See the pencil? You can
Okay.
edit it. And then
Okay.
you can delete the services and platforms answer. And you can say, I don't know. You can say this. Help me think through the pros and cons of different areas. Okay.
Okay.
Now it's going to start to show you all the different benefits. It's going through products and physical goods. It's going to go into
Oh, wow. Wow.
all these different areas. And now it's going to help you think through them. So now you might say, which of these has the most growth potential,
It's already giving me a reco where it's going to send me.
right? It's
Okay.
telling
So
you where
which
it's
of
going to
these?
send you, but that's based on that you want to build something new and lead a big team. But what if you said, which of these areas has the most growth potential as a company, as an
Oh,
industry? Which of these, right? Oh, you said for my career. Okay, different question.
sorry, I wrote that while you were,
No,
okay.
you're good. You're good. It doesn't matter. But that's really how this can go, right? The questions will totally lead the answer into
Yeah.
completely different things.
Great.
So that's
Okay.
great. So digital products has the highest career growth potential for you. And then it goes into market demand and talks about how but the market demand is different. Okay. So I'm going to jump back in now.
Okay. And we have about 10 more minutes and then
Okay.
we'll ask questions. Okay. That was great. Thank you.
Okay, great. So we're going to talk a little bit about how we're going to use AI as an enabler. So I've talked a lot about clarity in this at this stage of your career, it's momentum that matters. It's not about being busy. It's about building momentum. And AI really helps reduce the friction. So, how does it do that? Well, it shortens the distance between you're just thinking about it and doing it. And I don't know about you guys, but there have been so many times where I've needed to start a project, an email, a letter. And it's like getting over that first push to start it is literally the hardest part. It's like rolling a ball. Once you get it moving, it's real easy, but getting it started can be tough. And that's one of the great things that I use AI for. It's not about outsourcing your thinking, it's about reducing the friction there. So, writing cover letters, great use of AI. My tool for writing cover letters, I have a template that I like to use, and I put my template into AI. I actually have a project in ChatGPT that I call cover letters. And it has my template in it. I upload the job description, and it has my resume. And then I'll say, help me write a cover letter specifically for this job. And I'm going to add, these are all the things I personally like about this role that it might not know, right? I'm a huge fan of um, the Mets. I'm a major um, health nut. And so all of these healthy supplements are really interesting to me. So I'll start to add in all of that kind of stuff. And then I'll say, ask me questions one at a time, right? This is becoming my broken record. Ask me questions one at a time to help think through the best possible cover letter. Um, and then I'll start working through something. And then sometimes the first draft I don't love, but it gives me something to start to run with. I might say that's not the tone I want. I want to take a more professional tone, or I want to take a more conversational tone. This is a connection from my friend Elisa. I'd like to take a more conversational tone and be more friendly, but I want to make sure my professional strengths are really obvious here. So things like that can be very, very helpful in getting exactly what you want. Um, I use it to optimize resumes. So every single time I work with a client who's submitting for a new job, we optimize their resume. And now they do it themselves. They don't need me to do it anymore. But we put the resume and the job description into ChatGPT, is what I use for this. Um, and we optimize their resume because you don't need to rewrite the entire resume. But for every single role, certain things are more important than others. And we want to make sure we're highlighting the things that matter most so that our positioning is really good. And people will say to me, well, is it okay that I have 27 different versions of my resume? Of course. Do you think the companies are sharing them? Nope. Doesn't matter. No, no, nobody but you will know. What I will say is make sure when you're sending out those resumes that they are organized in your systems so that you know, like the title on mine might say Jodi Murnick resume, but in the file, I might have a file that says Johnson and Johnson. I might have a separate file that says Pfizer. I might have a separate file that says Sanofi. So the resume I sent to each of those companies is in those files, and I'm able to keep it straight. Or maybe even just the date, whatever works for you. Generating questions for interviews, another amazing use of AI. Now it's written your cover letter. It's helped you with your cover letter. It's optimized your resume. It's seen the job description. Now I have an interview coming up. And I'm going to say, and these two go together, simulating interviews and generating questions, right? I'm going to say, help me think through what I should be prepared to talk about in this interview. And so that's where it'll start pulling all kinds of things. And this is where you're going to use your experience, right? I know I want to understand a background on the company. I want to understand what's happening with them right now. So that question about like what's been in the news, I might say in the last 3 months or 6 months. I want to know anything else I need to know. And then I'm going to say, what questions should I expect? And it's going to give me a list of questions. And then I'm going to push further and say, what kinds of answers might they be looking for? Help me think. Sometimes I'll even say, help me think from the position of the team leader who's talking to me. What do they need from me? How do they need me to show up? So that I'm positioning myself that way.
So, Joe,
And
so Joe,
finally, one more question, one more thing, and one more thing, and then you can interrupt me. And the last thing I'll ask is, I want to ask some good questions at the end of this interview. Help me think through some questions that show I understand all of the context of the situation and make me, and put me in the best light that aren't going to be typical questions that everybody else has asked.
So one of the questions that we received in the chat that's relevant to this is in that example that you just gave, if I'm using Claude, and I've been using Claude for the past 2 weeks for things, and this is the third time I'm asking like a third company application to prepare for a different interview. Will it remember from before and other things I put in to ask for the other two to prepare me for the interview to ask the questions, or do I need to put in all those prompts I put in from the beginning again? Do I need to put my resume in again? Do I need to put other things in again? Or is it one of the questions we have is, will it remember what I've put in previously?
It will remember general themes and tones. Like your
Okay.
voice, it can start to build your voice without you having to do anything too special. But if you want it to know specific details, you need to create a project. And so that's why I have a project in chat, like I said, called cover letters, where I've uploaded my cover letter template that I like to use, um, and other resources that I think are important that I want it to always reference.
Okay.
Occasionally, if I don't do it exactly right, I can tell immediately that I'm getting something that's not what I'm expecting. And when that happens, I ask it what went wrong, right? And sometimes I'll realize that I thought I was in the project and I'm not, right? Or I was doing a project one day. The way I learned about this, honestly, was I was trying to write something and I had created a consumer profile of insights, of all the insights I knew about my business and my clients. And I asked it to draft something using all of those insights. And I thought what I was getting was really generic. And it did not seem like it came from my insights and the work I had done. And so I said, are you using my insights document? And it said, I'm using the general themes, but I can't see all the details. And I said, okay, well, what would it take for you to be able to see all the details? How can I show you those? And it said, you need to run this in that project. So I did that.
Thank you. So Jodi, let me ask you, I think what we'll do is we're going to, and Benjamin edit this out. I think we're going to thank you now for everything and then tell us how long you have to stay on with us to answer the questions. Okay.
I have another, let's see, what time is it right now? It's 11:27. I can stay on for about another 15 minutes.
Okay. So do you have any more
So
slides that you wanted to take
I've
us
got a
through?
smidge left. I can go
Okay.
through really quickly.
So let's do that. You'll tell me when it's done. I will thank you and then we'll ask questions for everybody else to stay on and Benjamin will edit what I've just said right now. Keep going.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right. So I did really quickly how to talk about AI in interviews. This is something that comes up a lot. And what I would say is interested people are the most interesting, and AI is the technology that the business world is the most interested in right now. So when talking about AI, you want to show up as capable, but you don't need to be an expert. You just need to be open and interested. You want to make sure you don't sound defensive and that you also don't sound dependent. So I've got some examples here, and I'll just read one. And this one just says, I'm curious about how your team is using AI internally. I've been experimenting with tools that streamline workflows, and I'm always looking for smarter ways to work. All that shows is that you're open and capable and growth minded. When I look at tools to enhance performance, some other tools that you can use for interview performance, Grammarly Go is another interesting. There are so many tools out there, by the way, that prompt writing, right? It's obviously a huge capability of AI, and there are so many tools. So I would say this is another great place to like just play around. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Otter AI is super cool for mock interviews and pattern improvement. that you would record a response and then you ask it to summarize what it heard, key themes and filler words and where you were vague. This is another just kind of fun. You can play around with it. Otter AI does a bunch of cool things with voice recording. So I would say that's a fun place to play around. ChatGPT and Claude are really my go-to here. Just like I had just talked about before, how I use them. That is exactly how I would use them for interview prep. Is give me all the context I need, help me think through questions, help me think through positioning. Um, it really just synthesizes everything and lets me create one organized prep guide. Um, I'm going to skip this last exercise we were going to do because I think we've really done that. And the final thing was really just the best way to learn is to integrate and play and explore. The worst way to learn is when you're stressed out and up against a deadline and you have to make something happen fast. So, as I said, using AI as a baseline, using it well is the differentiator. And I think we've talked a lot about today how to start to use it well. Um, and like I said, now is the best time. When you're desperate, you use these tools reactively, you accept the first draft, and quite honestly, your anxiety is through the roof. Trust me, I know I've done them, right? Trying to build different things, create different assets when you want to get something posted in the next 45 minutes is not fun at all. So do it when it's fun. And this is the last thing I'll leave you with. This is something fun I did the other day. I'm sure you've seen these all over Facebook. They were sort of popular in the last month or so. Um, and I would say if you want to play around and just see how it works, this is a fun way to see. ChatGPT recently got much, much better with images. And so I used it to make a caricature, but you can use it to make a caricature of yourself with all the things you love. You can ask it for recipes. I use it constantly in my kitchen, right? I have these 7 ingredients. I'm missing this one thing. What do you suggest I substitute for it? It's amazing how well it works, right? I knew there was a way to like make rice in the microwave quickly, and I wanted to know what it was. So it told me how to do it. It told me how to bake farro. It told me so many interesting things. You can use it to think about travel. People love to use it for travel. And then, work things. Ask it to rewrite your bio. Ask it to summarize an article for you. Analyze your resume. All of these small reps will build fluency. And the more you begin to explore and get comfortable, the more you'll be able to do. So, with that, I am going to thank you. And as we wrap up, I just want to say today wasn't about becoming an AI expert. It wasn't about mastering 25 new tools in different platforms. It was just about something simpler. That when the tools change, the strategy evolves, and now you know how to use some new ones.
Thank you, Jodi. I thank you from the bottom of our hearts here at JVS and on behalf of everybody who participated here. This was an excellent, excellent presentation. So many practical and tangible tips and the practical exercises we used that I think will have learned something here. So I want to thank you very much on behalf of us, and we hope to see you again soon.